Um,
Okay, we're good to go. Molly, if you'd like to kick off and do a little bit further introduction and let us know about your great solution.
yeah, share my screen really fast. Oops, all right. Are you able to see just the slides?
Yes, that's
Okay,
just right.
all right. So our company is Pickle System, and I am co-founder and CEO. My passion for individuals with disabilities really began back when I was in fifth grade. I was asked to be a peer mentor with the special needs class, and I taught one of my peers to play balloon hockey in PE class. And seeing the joy on his face, I knew for certain that this is what I was meant to do. I was meant to work with this population. And so fast forward 15 years, and I'm in my first year working as a behavior analyst. And I was asked to teach a large variety of skills, and some were really, really intimate. I was not ever imagining myself teaching a 21-year-old how to pee standing up. And I have no experience with that. So I didn't even know where to begin. And so I looked for resources and was shocked when I found nothing. And so this led me to pursue my PhD and to find effective methods to teach these more intimate skills. And I found that video models were an effective method, but no one had really used these or disseminated these and created them. And no one had done them for the intimate ones for sure. So we began creating animated video models, and that's how Pickle System came to be. So over 1 million people with autism and developmental disabilities require assistance learning daily living skills. The materials to teach these skills has to be individually created, which is time consuming, expensive, and it slows progress. Daily living skills include personal care skills like dressing, eating, intimate hygiene, toileting, also domestic skills like cooking and cleaning, and community skills like time management, money management, and job skills. And so individuals with autism and developmental disabilities often require that more like explicit teaching versus learning from just in their environment. So these skills have to be really individually taught. And once content is created, it's often not accessible by teachers, caregivers, and behavior analysts and occupational therapists. They're kind of all separate. So teaching styles and techniques are often different as well. So it just can make it really difficult to learn these crucial life skills. So we are an educational platform servicing adolescents and adults with disabilities who are learning these important life skills. What makes our video models different is that they're all backed by prior research, and I have ongoing research examining their effectiveness as well. They're all standardized with a 3-second delay between steps. We vary the point of view based off the step. They're all animated. We have specific colors that have been shown to increase learning. There's no audio, so that limits prompting, it limits distractions, and it also allows you to choose the language that you teach in. And we have various skin colors and skin tones, as well as both genders for a majority of our skills. And because they're all animated, we're able to teach a larger variety of daily living skills, including these really intimate ones like peeing in a urinal, menstrual care, wiping, all of those ones, showering, etc. So along with each video model, you get a printable visual aid and a data collection sheet. And we do plan to add some more functions, including daily tracking, connectivity across users, and some more support functions. So over 6.5 million people are diagnosed with autism every year, and our main purchasers are behavior analysts, parents, and educators. There's not many other companies that are doing anything like this, especially in the disability world. We have some direct competitors, but we differentiate from them in a lot of ways. And our specific methodology makes us kind of unique. We do offer subscriptions for $10 a month and $100 a year, and we are working on some enterprise and insurance licensing options as well. Our customers really love it. They have said that it helps them learn. They really like the pause in between steps because it allows them to pause it and rewatch it a little easier than having to watch a whole video. They can actually do it while they're watching. And yeah, some parents just have mentioned that it takes a lot of stress off of them. So I'm Molly Oshinski. I'm co-founder and CEO. I have over 5 years experience working with ages 2 all the way through 80. I know what kind of skills need to be taught across the lifespan as a behavior analyst and have done that. Morgan Marquez is our co-founder and COO. She has over 8 years experience in data analytics, technology, and automation. She has created our entire site, runs marketing, runs analytics, all of that. All the stuff that I have no idea how to. And we also have 2 animators on our staff currently. But yeah, that's Pickle System. So thank you.
Oh, that's great, Molly. Um, Tell me a little bit about data collection. What's involved there, and how do you then use the data?
Yeah, so let me just stop that. Right now, we just offer printable data collection sheets. So what that looks like is basically the skills are all broken down into like tiny steps, and you take data on if the person did the step or didn't do the step or required a prompt to do the step. We don't currently like get that data back right now or have any way on our site to um, track it for you. But essentially we want to have that capability eventually.
Are the
So
cer-
looking at partnering with other companies we offer with them.
You cut out, Morgan, but what I think she was saying was that we're trying to partner right now with some companies that already have the data collection side of things, so that way we can just integrate our videos and our breakdown of the steps of the skill into their already prepared data collection software.
your your configuration of things is, and the process that you go through, is that based on your own research or research of others? What's kind of the knowledge base or the evidence base for your work?
Yeah, there's not a ton out there, but we do know that video models are an evidence-based practice for teaching daily living skills in general. However, they're just not often shared. And they're often usually like individually created with like a camera and like I'm washing my hands and using that for my client. And so we do know they are effective. And we know that all of that is effective. Where my research comes in is I'm looking at our specific way with the 3-second pause with all of that research to see how effective those are. And so far they have been. Yeah.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, great overview. I really appreciate it and see a great need for this. One of the questions I have is, they have activities of daily living, both independent and basic categories. And so, I mean, is something like this similar to, similar to that, for the elderly? Have you thought about, those activities of basic living, independent, as well as the basic activities of daily living?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have over 60 videos, I believe now. So that covers a really large range. We have like menstrual care, we have showering, we have doing like basic stuff like putting on socks, putting on your jacket, stuff like that, as well as like vacuuming. And so we have a pretty wide range. We do want to expand into like the older population because I do think it could provide some more independence, especially in the the dementia, and kind of like just give them that independence because they can watch the video and follow along the steps, and that provides more privacy and independence for sure.
Exactly. No, great idea. And
thank you.
Dan, did you have a question?
Yeah, out of curiosity, you may have said it and I didn't hear it. Who's your customer? Is it an insurance plan, a health provider, or the individual? Or all of
Currently,
the above?
all of the above, ideally. Yeah, right now we mainly our customers have been other behavior analysts, parents, and teachers. But we do hope to like increase into like the insurance side of things, and we're trying to get our foot in with that.
Any other questions? Teresa, do you want to go ahead and ask yours?
Oh, yeah. What is the length of the videos and does it vary? And then who are they actually designed for? Is it the individual with autism or developmental disability, or is it also designed for caregivers?
Yeah. So first question, the length varies. So based on the number of steps, it could go anywhere from 20 seconds all the way to 2 minutes potentially. I try to keep them relatively short because of how long they are, and they also get longer because we do add a 3-second pause in between each step. So that's where the length can get. So you can pause it in between if you're, I actually did that with a client that I was working with, and the menstrual care video is about 1.5 minutes, and I paused it about halfway through just to like give them a break and then continued on. So that's where the pause can kind of make them a little longer, but it also provides an opportunity to pause it if needed. And your second question, could you remind me one more time what it was?
Yeah, the intended audience.
Oh, yeah. So the intended audience is the individual with autism or developmental disabilities, or whoever needs assistance learning the video. So essentially you are watching an animated character complete the skill. So it's not really for the parent to learn how to teach the skill. It's more for this individual to actually learn that skill. But we do have like methodology on our site and teaching instructions for parents to know how to use our video.
Hey, this is Ashley Smith. Sorry, I was kind of late to the presentation this morning. So I apologize if I missed this. Have you already reached out to like the Down Syndrome Guild of Kansas City? Oh, I think it's Down Syndrome Innovation now or something like that.
Actually, no, I don't think we have. Which I should, because I've been to that many times. So I don't know how that slipped my brain, but that's a great suggestion. I will do that.
Kids with Down syndrome end up with developmental delays, as well as a lot of them end up on the spectrum as well. So I thought it might be helpful.
Absolutely. And Teresa, which videos have been the most popular? Definitely our intimate skill ones. So showering, menstrual care, wiping, peeing in a urinal, peeing standing up. I want to say even like shaving has been a big one as well. Morgan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but definitely the more intimate ones have been our biggest need and use.
This really is a really important thing, I think. We've also seen a growth of other solutions meant for people on the spectrum, and it seems to be a real strength of Kansas City. Have you found kind of good resources here for doing what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think KU has a huge behavior program, so they're contributing a ton to the research on this field. So that's been really great. And then we've also just gotten a ton of support from, Million Cups. We've gotten support from Digital Sandbox. All of those companies as well have been really, really helpful.
What do you think you need the most? What's kind of the next big step for you?
Definitely just sharing our company and like word of mouth and getting our name out there to people, letting them know we exist and can help would be really, really helpful. Help telling parents about us, telling, other clinics or companies would be really great. Yeah.
Okay. Elizabeth.
Sorry if I missed this too. Have you already reached out to Children's Mercy behavior clinics?
No, I don't believe so. We've been focused more on schools and like local clinics. So like I don't know if you guys know of like day services and stuff like that, but we've been reaching out to them a lot. But I definitely will go the hospital route as well.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay,
Mm.
let me know if you need any help with contacts or anything. And then there's also a program that Children's Mercy uses called Strawberry Week, that helps supply menstrual care items if needed.
Oh, amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, hi. My questions really are about marketing and, you know, your current routes to market. You know, are they robust, or are you really relying at the moment on meetings like this so that we become more aware? Because it certainly, as John just pointed out, the awareness of autism and other people with special needs, not just the autism, but other people with special needs, is quite robust in the Kansas metropolitan area. And I was wondering, you know, what can we do to help you put together a plan to reach out to all of these people and all of the various associations? And also, is how are you funded at the moment? Do you have grants and other? Because I think what you're doing is fantastic. You know, the simplicity of it. It's amazing what we can do with simple solutions. So I think the simplicity of it addresses a very distinct need in the market, and just cuts through a lot of the other noise out there that a lot of people who have disabilities have to struggle with to try to learn how to do anything. So congratulations, and how can we help?
Yeah, absolutely. We're always happy to receive any contacts and reach out to them and be connected in any way. Our marketing strategy, we have attended multiple conferences. We were just at the Midwest Ability Summit a couple weeks ago. We've attended like the biggest behavior analysis conference. We are trying to digital advertise and have like promotional videos. It's been kind of trial and error at this point, and word of mouth and LinkedIn and Facebook groups, stuff like that has been our main marketing stuff. But we're always open to suggestions because it's not my trade. Morgan has more expertise, but yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve for that portion. Yeah. And for funding, we are self-funded, as well as we did receive digital sandbox funding, and we have won some pitch competitions to get more funding, but majority has been self-funded.
Yeah, just one more thing, if I may, because you're talking about awareness. I'm working with a client who happens to be in Tennessee, and they're developing a standard of care platforms and so on to not only diagnose, but to treat autism and other, you know, special needs. And I look at solutions like yourself, like what you're doing, Pickles, and say, in my view, as a nurse and a case manager of umpteen years, as a standard of care. So if somebody is diagnosed with a disability or it's recognized and so on, that teaching and training them is absolutely key to their life and independent living. So, you know, I could see how we could develop a where it becomes a standard of care and becomes embedded, if you will. And I have another client that's doing something very different than what you're doing, but it's all around parents and educators being aware of a child's or adult's needs and working with her to become a quote unquote standard of care. So clinicians and parents understand this, and it becomes embedded in that pathway of care for them through a lifetime. So I could see this really becoming something that immense, if you will.
Thank you. Yes, that would be incredible. Absolutely.
Okay, well
And
done.
Molly, I would direct your attention to the chat where Teresa Gerard from the team has offered some contact information.
Thank you. This is
Stan?
wonderful. Thank you.
Have you considered, obviously, that you're assisting a very important segment of the population, but have you considered putting together a preschool module? Because for kids who aren't who don't have disabilities of any sort, you're still teaching basic learning skills that we don't necessarily have well developed in some places. Have you talked about that?
Yeah, we definitely were more focused on keeping our characters looking like teenage to adult, just because I know when I worked at day services, I was like, I don't want to show this 21-year-old a baby washing their hands. But eventually we would absolutely love to have different aged characters, and then we could definitely target more like preschool students with that.
You might consider it, because I keep on thinking of the 2.5-year-old niece I have that calls me. They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
When they can get to the cell phone, they know how to push the right buttons. 2.5, less than 3 years old. So it might be a whole, the skills, they're not potty trained yet, and,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Great. Other thoughts from the team? Well, Molly, this has been really very interesting. I'm really glad that we had a chance to learn about this. It just seems to add so much to the environment, an environment with such great needs. And so, congratulations to you and Morgan for what you've done and where you're going.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Let's turn then to Craig Mason from Raise Health Innovations. If you'd like to give us a brief overview of your work and tell us more.
Absolutely. Let me get organized real quick to share my screen. It's always the fun juggle to get that ready to go. Can you guys see a PowerPoint with our giant hand logo on there?
Not yet. There we go.
Right.
There we go. We're good.
Awesome. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am Craig Mason. I am the co-founder and CEO of Raise, and want to thank you all this morning, and thank you to Casey Digital Drive for the opportunity to share the exciting work that we have going on. So let's get rocking and rolling. I started Raise at the beginning of the year with the vision to help turn mental health into a proactive space where people get the help that they need before a crisis occurs. The research behind value-based care models, social determinants show that managing someone's health before an acute event and keeping them in an ambulatory environment not only reduces costs, but can drastically improve long-term outcomes. But it's very hard to do that, and little has been done in the mental health space. So we built technology that analyzes conversations in real time to detect mental health conditions, and it's designed in a way to be embedded into platforms and apps where people are already conversing and alert professionals to engage them and change the trajectory of lives before a crisis ever occurs. So we've been really fortunate to have won a couple of highly competitive grants, Digital Sandbox and Social Venture Studio, that catapulted our progress to the point where we have a product that's going to be released next week, which I'm excited to give you a sneak peek of here in a couple minutes. And our first pilot implementation will occur with a national organization here in less than a month. So let's dive deeper. So ever since I was a teenager, I have struggled with various mental health battles. And so I understand where there's opportunity for improvement and a need to find those who suffer in silence, a need to have that, are you really okay type of moment. We live in a world where people's mental state feels like it's on a tightrope, delicately and desperately balancing with the environment around us that is highly triggered and overwhelming. And there's amazing but overwhelmed leaders who are responsible for mental health or responsible or impacted by mental health. And we have this guessing game, holding our breath if people are actually okay or if they need help. And we just don't know. So many of us have in fact been there, and actually half of us in our lives will have this experience of mental health crisis. But unfortunately, 75% of those people who do have this experience suffer in silence and don't get any help. And it's not just a specific group hiding in a corner. Nobody's immune to mental health crisis. It's the breadwinner who unexpectedly loses their job, the new mom with postpartum depression, veterans with PTSD, even the world famous celebrity is not immune to this, where they on paper have it all, but behind closed doors suffer from anxiety. These are the origin stories of crises that result in harming themselves or others. And we live in a world that has really only figured out how to react to these crises and not proactively address mental health. And because of that, it's costing families, it's costing communities and organizations immensely. So here's some staggering statistics. Just last year alone, almost $2 billion of suicide care was written off by hospitals because of patients unable to pay or fully pay for suicide-related care. $48 billion was lost in productivity by organizations due to people missing work related to mental health. Insurers and self-insured employers spend on average 5 times more on the health coverage costs of those with a mental health condition than those without. And month over month, 1 in 4 young adults have seriously contemplated taking their life. But fortunately, there's a silver lining to this all, where 80 to 90% of people who do go get help for things like depression or suicide ideation are successfully treated. We just need to find and connect those people early on and help have that "Are you okay" moment and give them the tools and resources to begin being impacted. There was this really neat poem in 1996 by Linda Ellis, and it talks about a eulogy at a funeral where there's, at the end of the day and at the end of our life, it will be represented by 3 things: the day we were born, the day we died, and the dash in between. And it talks about how do you go live your dash and maximize your dash and extend it as long as possible and have the most impact out of it as possible. So I want to introduce you to our dash. Dash is what we have named our platform, and it is designed to analyze conversations as they happen and detect mental health conditions like depression, like anxiety, like suicide ideation, embedded into where people are already communicating, and instantly prompt professionals to help engage before crises occur, help creating that bridge between and closing that gap between those who suffer in silence and the tools and resources out there to help them. Privacy is a top priority, and safety. Privacy and security are top priorities for us. So adhering to all of the latest and greatest requirements and making sure that we're doing things in protected ways. And one thing that's funny though is, when it comes to our beloved Sheis credit card app, we're all pretty grateful when we get those suspicious activity alerts of activity that we're not expecting on our credit card. We think it's time to apply that to our mental health when there's suspicious thoughts. And so that's really how we've approached this, is let's use those types of technology to find people headed in the wrong direction or saying things that go below the radar but are major indicators of mental health concerns. So we're designing our solution to be embedded wherever people communicate in digital forums, whether that's a high school digital engagement app, the call center, your telephony platform, instant messaging, Discord, Slack, Teams, Zoom, you name it. We're designed and we're actively working in spaces to connect to these major communication platforms. And as people are conversing in these environments where they're already aware and agree to being analyzed, which is a really important part of this, we're detecting things like depression, anxiety, suicide ideation, and connecting them to those people who can ultimately help change the trajectory of their lives. So when we're part of the digital engagement app for high school students, we're connecting those students to counselors. And we're part of the telephony platform for veteran community groups, we're connecting those veterans to caseworkers. And when we're analyzing the conversations going on inside your EAP or wellness program with your employees, we're connecting them to the behavioral health experts. And when we're connected into the telephony platform or the patient portal or your chat bots for the hospitals or insurers, where when patients are calling in, when those things pop up, we're connecting them to the experts who can provide life-altering care. So without further ado, I'm going to switch over here just a second, and I would love to show you Dash for real. So what I'm about to show you is, keep in mind, our solution really is a brain. It is powerful AI and computers. So what we have done is we've overlaid it with this user experience so you can see how it works. So I'll just kind of orient you to what's going on here. If you already have an audio or a text file that you want to test, you can just drag and drop it here. If you want to analyze a conversation in real time, or have specific text that you want to use, this is where you input it here. I'll show you some more of that here in a second. And then it can also, you can put the specificity of what level of risk you want to be identifying for and where you want that notification to occur. Very configurable. We can send you an email notification. We can put it in your group Teams chat. We can send you a text message, or we've got a Discord channel, and Discord is really just like a large community application where people can talk back and forth, use in different social gaming and other areas. But we do a lot of testing through there to analyze conversations. And then really at the bottom, what we're showing here is green is bad, and green is good, red is bad. And we have a couple of different criteria that we're searching for. So a neutrality score, a suicide ideation score, and a depression score. So when I go in and say, hey, good morning, everybody, and I analyze, it tells me, this is a neutral statement. There is very, very low likelihood of suicide ideation and very, very low likelihood of depression as part of that. And then it says it's a false flag of a mental health concern. These are just space holders to help as key identifiers because we don't have the actual person information or the call information directly in our platform, but it's that identifier to push back into that native platform. And then you can actually export the transcript, whether audio or text, as it's happening. So I want to introduce you to, in our example here, John, who is a recent retiree. His wife's been through cancer. He got in a car wreck, and he has got the bill. And he's overwhelmed trying to figure out how to do it. So John calls into the call center. He says, and the call center rep says, hey, how's your day going? He says, hey, busy, tough day. You can see down here, low risk. And so the call center rep says, John, what can I help you with? What's going on? And he's, I'm watching the Lakers game, lost for how to understand how to pay my bill. Again, low risk. And the call center rep says, yeah, the Lakers aren't as great as they were last year. And John says, yeah, but LeBron James is killing it lately. Again, low risk. What's important here is the term killing in context can mean a lot of different things. And our solution is designed to understand the inference and context of the conversation to know that this is referencing LeBron James and not referencing individual or harm. So they continue on, hey, my medical bill's too much. It's just the details of it are really overwhelming. And as I'm going through this, I'm copying and pasting from another screen. This is all happening in real time. This isn't a recording. This is what's going on in real time. So, the details of my bill are overwhelming, and it makes me feel that way too. This is the first time where it actually triggers because it understands in context of not is the bill overwhelming, but I'm overwhelmed. And there's a likelihood of potential depression, anxiety, or suicide ideation. So they continue on with the conversation. This call center rep is great. He's from Kansas City, but he also knows that it's hopeless for the Royals to win a World Series. And John says, yeah, winning a World Series is hopeless. Again, hopeless is a very key term in knowing a level of depression or anxiety. But John says, I feel that too. Again, this comes back and shows us that there's a high likelihood of depression. At this point, our model, depending on the environment that we're working in, probably actually sends a trigger to the call center rep or to the mental health professional to engage. But towards the end of the call, John just says, you know what, just send me the financial counseling information and my bill. I'm not worried about paying it. That's where things start to really get out of control. The call center rep who thinks he's just had a very successful call talking about financial planning and counseling to get John the information that he needs is, after 20 calls, is very excited and like, yes, we have a resolution. John is comfortable. Well, he's not okay. He is actually saying behind the scenes, I'm not worried about paying this bill, because inferring that I'm not probably going to be here. So just in the level of that individual statement alone, we can also analyze the entire conversation in context to know that John is highly depressed and very likely a medium likelihood of suicide ideation as well. So I'm going to transition back over to my PowerPoint. I just wanted to show you there the power of what the solution can do. I won't read all of these. Nobody is immune to a mental health concern. And mental health is treated as a second-class citizen when it comes to our health. If we have a fracture, On a bone, we're not going to wait till it's broken to go get it fixed. If we have stage 1 cancer, we're not going to wait until it's stage 4 to do something about it. But yet, when it comes to mental health, unless our life or somebody else's life is at risk, we tend to wait till people come to us or till we react to a crisis. And this solution is really designed to be embedded into any type of organization that cares for or cares about the mental health of their members, and to find them early on and get them the help that they need. Not only have I have personal experiences in the mental health space, that's been my professional career as well. I've been working at the intersection of healthcare and technology for well over a decade, and my co-founder has also done previous startup and scaling efforts as well. So I've been part of and led innovation efforts for a large IT company out of Omaha, Signature Performance, former executive and architects at Oracle, and have built multiple teams, business units, and worked on some of the most difficult clients in Cerner's history. We also have amazing experts and advisors on our team. In fact, the original team out of NYU, Abu Dhabi, and Harbor UCLA Medical Center who proposed this idea of analyzing conversation to detect mental health conditions are part of our advisory team. And we've taken their concepts and their research and proven it out, and also made it real time, not just post analysis. So we have experts on our team who know AI, know mental health, know technology, and know how to operate in startup environments. And all of us are impacted by and believe that mental health deserves to be first class. So I'm excited to get your guys' questions and feedback. We are getting ready to launch a pre-seed funding round here in a few weeks. So if you know anybody who is an angel investor or a small venture group doing pre-seed funding and wanting to write $25,000 checks or more, we'd love to talk to them. We're also still have a couple of spots open in our beta test partner program if you are interested or know anybody who's interested in being part of that program as well. So I will pause here, and I'm very excited to get your guys' feedback and answer any questions that you may have.
Great, Craig. Thanks very much. So the sort of evidence base and knowledge base comes from the NYU and the UCLA programs?
So the lead researchers from the machine learning and the mental health side have been advocates in explaining how they did it. We then created our own large language model, machine learning, natural language processing, inference. We have our own proprietary solutions that do that because the chat GPTs of the world aren't powerful enough or fast enough to do that and specific enough to do that in the mental health space. But yeah, we've worked with them to get their feedback on how once they proved that the research worked and once our own proof of concept worked, we really started engaging with them to help build out our solution to be ready to go deliver real-time mental health conversation analysis.
Great. Elizabeth, did you have a question? You're muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry. A very excellent presentation. Thank you very much for that. My questions are around whether or not your raise is being considered either as digital diagnostic or digital treatment, and whether or not you're going to require regulatory approval.
So, in working with a lot of experts on the regulatory compliance and legal sides of that, no, we aren't going to be an FDA medical device. We aren't actually diagnosing a patient. We're providing those recommendations and analysis of where somebody may be for that individual to then engage and do that direct diagnosis. So until we actually do direct diagnostics, which isn't something we're planning on doing anytime soon, we wouldn't have to go through any of that FDA type clearance.
So you're clearly stating that you're providing information to be otherwise analyzed by an expert to determine a diagnosis.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, super. All right. Great job.
Thank you.
We have other questions from the team. Teresa, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. This is very interesting. So looking ahead, you presented a number of use cases. And I know you've got a pilot on the horizon. Can you talk about, kind of in general, how you work with organizations and what makes an ideal pilot?
So I'll actually use our pilot as an example. So the Simplify Fund is a national safety net. It's not for profit for veterans. So veterans call in about abuse, addiction, nutrition, financial issues, and the way that we work with them is we've embedded into their telephony platform and into their Teams chat platforms and into their email platform. So we're analyzing every mode of communication that's happening with veterans as they happen to then alert a caseworker team to know to engage in real time or as on a follow-up conversation. So when we started working with them, we did a whole current and future state mapping of how they engage their veterans today and what processes would look like if and when somebody's in crisis. There's a lot more nuances to it than they originally thought. It isn't just that, hey, let's alert somebody. Well, what if somebody isn't at their desk to alert? Who do you alert next? How often do you change that alert to the secondary, tertiary person? How do you continue to follow up and track that to resolution? So we've mapped with them not only how do we use APIs to integrate into their solutions to help support veterans, we've actually mapped out the processes to know, hey, these are the types of people calling this up, the actual expert at the Simplify Fund. What qualifications do they have? Should they be alerted directly or should somebody else be alerted? Really designing it and configuring it in a way that best supports who they're conversing with under what context and who should have the alert and how to follow up with them. So whether it's the veteran groups, we're also doing a pilot with a high school district in Pennsylvania, how to connect with counselors. We're doing a telehealth platform with retired athletes. So knowing all these different environments, it's if this, then what? The real question for us where we push organizations is this and then what conversation to know how do we support these persons who may be in crisis? How do we validate where they are and how do we start to care for them and help improve their trajectory and make sure that we stay engaged with them in the right way to get improved outcomes? Did I avoid answering your question, Teresa? Did I answer
No,
it for you?
that was perfect. Thank you.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, sorry, if I can have one more question, please. Regarding your data and your data collection, using the preferred data collection as if you would do trials, what are you setting up in terms of starting to measure outcomes? I'm sort of pretty much outcome driven by design, but measuring these outcomes as clinical evidence as well as patient reported outcomes, both of them are important in terms of taking this forward as a go-to tool, so to speak, and becoming really embedded in the community that needs it the most. So what are you doing in the regard to data and measuring outcomes?
So probably a 2 or 3 part answer, Elizabeth. First, what we did was we designed our solution using clinical research data sets as well as social and conversational data sets. So actual suicide notes, social media posts that were reviewed by mental health professionals to tag them with a specific mental health condition or and other conversational context and know how people are talking when they're having a crisis was really how we built our custom language model. Our model now is at a point where it's got over 100 million parameters designed into the logic. And since we've done that, we've run it against 70,000 test cases that are proven to be related to suicide, depression, or anxiety. And it's running at 98.4% fidelity of accurately identifying those. So all that being said, as we go launch these pilots, there's an intentional focus on a human review layer of those conversations where to validate from a clinical perspective, is the machine learning model predicting and analyzing correctly, and then do reinforcement learning into our solution. And then these early solutions, this will be my last point, is we're also not just doing real-time tracking, we're doing long-term tracking of those individuals, because the worst thing that can happen is you help somebody on Tuesday and they're gone on Thursday. We really want to make sure that we have strategies in place to improve the outcomes of these people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, did I answer your question at all, Elizabeth?
You did. There's still a couple
right,
of things to know, but we'll get there sometime. No, not today. That's fine. But very well done. Thank you.
We have lots of hands up. Let's start with Stan.
Craig, where do you need the patient permission to have their data being analyzed to be if you were doing it in a statistical way, it wouldn't make any difference. You're just reporting, but you're using it proactively.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of laws out there around acknowledgement of analyzing conversations, just some the call center world. But as we work with organizations, we've actually added layers to that and help coach them of the not only saying this call may be monitored for quality assurance purposes. We've helped guide them with their legal counsel on our own to say this call may be monitored for quality assurance as well as for safety and health related outcomes. So people are getting the awareness when there's a live conversation, and in a digital setting, it's part of their EULA agreement or terms and services that nobody reads, so nobody understands it. So we're actually doing education and change management strategies just with organizations to make sure that people deliberately know that there are tools out there that are analyzing, what ad to target them for Facebook, but we're also using the tools in this environment to help make sure that you are safe and we can give you the best type of care possible and keep everyone around you safe. So there's a lot of education components to that, Stan, where we're making sure that people are not only aware but educated before they're in a scenario where we're analyzing them from a mental health component.
I'm sitting here wearing an old IRB hat when I'm thinking right now, and boy, I love the outcome, but I'm not sure of the process, if you understand what I'm saying. I need to think that one out. This doesn't seem as clear cut and simple as you just said, because there's the whole issue of people understanding what they're doing, and okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
James, did you have a question?
It was actually asked. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anurag.
There we go. Craig, good to see you again. I feel like I have a lot of setup to do before I actually get there, but I have a comment, a question, and then maybe a solution or a suggestion, sorry. But you are breaching a new area of norms that we have not established. And I think Stan kind of alluded to that, which is that you are using AI on a data set for people, from people. And there is, I guess the White House is going to be coming out with some suggestions on ethical uses of AI and norms that might hit multiple industries, including healthcare. Now, I know you mentioned that you are breaching that space or coming right up against that space of like clinical work, but not FDA like oversight. Do you guys have any pipelines or roadmaps on like what you guys think in this space, specifically to like, Stan mentioned consent. There's also the right to forget, but also the transparency of your guys' models and where my data as a consumer may get used, not just for assessing if I'm at risk or not.
Transparency and trust are number one in ever establishing any type of useful and impactful outcomes, especially in the AI space. This is 1984. This is Big Brother when used in the wrong way, and it's being used by a lot of organizations in the wrong way. And so making sure that we're very transparent in what we do, how we do, why we do it with organizations we work with and the members they serve is a really important thing. And to your point, Anurag, making sure that we're staying aware and ahead of the intentions of rules before they become rules to make sure that we're helping people in a proactive way. So as that continues to change, we'll make sure that that we are at its base transparent and help organizations in a trustworthy way. So we'll continue to work on that as much as we can.
Yeah, that sounds great. I appreciate that. I think not only like are you able to be proactive, but you could be a individual or a company that helps guide some of these rules because you guys are there already and are wanting to figure it out. I should have started with some disclosures. So James and I work on a project together under James's organization called the Ethical AI. You may want to reach out to one of us about it because I think you might be a good use case where there are some individuals with the group that could help with maybe the right questions and maybe even like you guys could help them as well.
Yeah, I'd love the opportunity to chat with you guys and get to a point where we've earned a right to be good examples for others of how to do AI in an ethical and safe way.
Yeah, thank you.
Johnny.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing here with the AI and getting out ahead of folks. That's exactly where I think we ought to be with some of this. I got two questions for you about what you're doing here. One is that I know that you're working on the real-time model currently. Is there any intention, or do you have any designs to tap into any kind of historical data, like anybody's medical records or any kind of information like that, to help develop a profile? And then my second question is it just the language model that you're working in? There's so much that we do in the medical field to gather data in other ways, sensors and whatnot. Is there any design in your roadmap to start bringing in other information as part of what your algorithm is?
Yeah, Johnny, great questions. And yes. So in a lot of our early test cases and test partners, they've already asked about how do we get predictive in these scenarios. So for example, Simplify Fund has 20 plus years of case notes on veterans, and to know their ultimate outcome, their cause of death is actually tagged as, just old age, service connected condition, suicide, or other reasons, accident, whatever. They want to know, can we actually build machine learning model to do propensity scoring to know if somebody is likely to head towards a mental health condition based off of their case history, and other examples as well. So that, yes, that would get to the point from a medical record perspective. Do we have enough medical, social, case information to know those who are headed towards a crisis, so that community leaders or health organizations or insurers can know when to engage people proactively? So going from reactive to real time to proactive is something that we really want to get to. And on our roadmap, definitely we were already doing research from multimodal analysis. So not only the words and phrases you say, but how you say them, and what your tone, inflection, posture, eye movement, all of these other things are part of how you converse and how you display how you're feeling and what's ultimately going on. So those are things that we're actively researching. Those other areas have less proven results and are very more individually tailored, because you have to know, like, I talk fast and I'm a bubbly person, to know differently if I'm talking slower and more monotone. So those are things that we're working on to be able to try to incorporate into our solution in the future to help build into the fidelity and mapping of people headed towards adverse outcomes and help them proactively.
Thank you so much, Craig. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Johnny.
Juan, do you have a question?
I do. Thanks, John.
Great.
Pleasure to meet you, and awesome presentation, and love the passion and technology you have in front of you. I guess kind of a go-to-market strategy here. So from what you mentioned earlier, it seems that your algorithm, or the AI at least that was built, is the proprietary nature. Have you thought about doing kind of more of a Wolters Kluwer, so that they have an application called UpToDate, which I'm sure you're familiar through your Cerner time. They, instead of being the platform play, they are just embedded within the EMRs of Epic, Cerner, name everybody else, NetSmart, et cetera. It would seem from a consent patient acceptance perspective, that would be a lot easier than trying to go do this by yourself. So I guess, has there been any thought to be a content partner versus a standalone system?
Absolutely. I think our early go-to-market strategy has been focused on community organizations serving veterans, youth, and just general populations who have mental health issues, to really prove out and map out the outcomes and results, build use cases. But I think for us, from a scale and growth perspective, ultimately want to be embedded into these other platforms where people are conversing as a partner. So you see organizations like Zoom, who have a healthcare tailored suite of solutions for health systems. The Epics, Oracles of the world are engaging with patients in their patient portal, doing all this work. So yeah, and they have APIs that integrate with that. We've already been having some conversations with these channel partners, and so as we continue to scale, that's definitely how we want to approach it, to be a white labeled embedded components of the technology that they have and help serve the members that they serve.
Yeah, definitely. It's a much easier go-to-market strategy when you have everybody already has BAAs, MSAs out there. You just ride the coattail, if you will. it's an easier growth strategy. Second question, you mentioned you're going through a pre-seed round. How does one get involved?
Yeah, so honestly, if you want to be involved, just email me. I'm happy to talk to you or anybody that you know that want to be part of that. We have done a couple of things. We're working to be part of some forums here this fall to engage with potential angels and different groups. But just reach out to me directly. It's Craig at Raise High Health Innovation. So RAISEHI.com. Happy to chat with anybody and would love any type of support we can get.
Thanks, Craig.
Any other questions from the group? This has really been outstanding. I'm glad we have such great feedback today. Jeremy.
Hey, John, from my side, hope everyone's doing well. Craig, good presentation. Similar to Juan, question on the go-to-market, more so interested in the business model perspective here. So what's the business model? How are you selling it? How do you convert those pilots to paying customers? And really, what does the total addressable market look like for a solution that you're working on?
So our I'm going to give you a little bit of a long-winded answer, and since you had a couple of what points you want me to touch on. So pricing for us, the cost is based off of transaction volume. So based off of anticipated volumes and types of conversations that we're analyzing, we're just converting that into a monthly subscription cost for people from a pricing perspective. Our early test partners, we have agreements with them to adopt our solution at a discount to be a test partner and to be a reference partner for the future. So as we scale, then they will have opportunities to renegotiate and stay in that role forever as early believers in our solution. So that's kind of how we've approached it. From a total addressable market, the mental health AI market is like one of the fastest growing markets out there. It's going to be a $4 billion market, growing 35% per year over the next 5 years. And so we expect that we can capture just a couple percent of that through these early test partnerships and channel partnerships to really help us go scale into a multi-million-dollar organization very, very quickly.
Thanks for that, Craig. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, definitely be reaching out to you to talk about some different strategy and such. So good job here going through the presentation. And this is a good group to get feedback from. We've done the same coming through my company, TrackMy, as well. So thanks to John and team.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Well, it's great to have this forum, and I really appreciate everybody's participation today. And Craig, a really outstanding presentation, and the same for Molly. We really have learned a lot in a very short period of time, and we're very grateful. So with that, I think I'll close out for today, but thank you all for attending, and thanks for our presenters.
Thanks very much, John.
Bye now.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
All right, take care.
All right.